the lies and misinformation that are going on right now over in Israel between Hamas and, of course, the Israeli government. This Tesla owner got pulled over, sent to jail because he was driving the Tesla from the back seat. And a little bit more about the Colonial Pipeline with Mr. Matt Gagnon. We joined him, of course, this morning. Here we go.
Good to have you with us. 7:36 on a Wednesday means it's time to talk to Craig Peterson, our tech guru. He joins us at this time every single week. Craig, how are you this morning?
Hey, I am doing quite well. I had a couple of my hives swarm. It's just been such a great, they overwintered in a great spring, and so I was able to catch them. So I'm up 2 more hives. I caught 2 swarms. So I'm
What are you talking about? Are you a bee person?
My honeybees. Yeah, you didn't know that?
Well, yeah, okay. I sort of remember that a little bit, but what do you mean you caught a swarm? I mean, you go out there with a net? I mean, how do you do that?
Yeah. Well, the way it works is bees multiply by dividing. So if they're really, really healthy, they will go ahead and make some new queens. And then when that queen emerges, the old queen will take about half of the workers and will go to try and find a new hive. So she'll go out and she'll just sit on a branch. And, of course, all of these other workers, 10 to 15,000 bees, will swarm right around her. So they'll all be resting on this poor branch, which is almost always just sagging. So if you can catch them, so what you do, if you can get that queen particularly and get her into another little hive or a box to begin with, then now you've got a whole new hive. So that's how they have new colonies. That's how the honeybees start expanding. And I often just let them go because it helps with the whole diversity thing, and they become wild honeybees, which we need because this year about half of all of the colonies in the U.S. died. So that's how it works. They're bigger than a football, but kind of shaped like it. And if you see one, call a beekeeper in your area so that they can either go and grab them and help to make sure they're healthy, because unfortunately our wild bees are dying at very high rates. But they can make sure they're healthy, they can capture them, and they'll be happy. And hopefully they won't end up in somebody's eaves of their house that they then have to try and get this bee colony out of.
Well, I learned something about bees today, ladies and gentlemen. Craig Peterson joins us at this time. He also joins the program, or he joins the station, on Saturdays at 1 o'clock, where he hosts a show where he goes into many of these topics in more detail. I don't know if you're going to hear about bees, but I guess you're probably going to hear about the Colonial Pipeline. I know that we talked a little bit about this last week, but Craig, they paid a $5 million ransom. And from what I understand, they basically, what they got back for a key, they didn't even really use anyway. And they ended up using a sort of backup of theirs to restore things anyway. First of all, tell me about what actually happened with that payment ransom. And second of all, what's the impact of this? Does this not just incentivize more of this garbage happening?
Yeah, it really does. And not only incentivizes it generally, but it incentivizes them to go after Colonial again, just like they've done with the city of Atlanta, where they paid a ransom. And, of course, they got hit again just weeks later. They paid another ransom, right? They got hit again. So this is really bad. Under the Trump administration, the Department of Justice said, you are supporting terrorism if you pay ransoms, and we consider that to be illegal. Now, under the Biden administration, they said, well, whatever, do whatever you want. It's kind of up to you. They paid $5 million. The bad guys gave them the decryption key and in fact tried to help them decrypt their data. That wasn't successful. What Colonial ended up doing is 2 things. One, they switched their pipeline over to manual control away from computer control. So they actually had to have people all the way up and down the coast. How long is that? It's like 2,000-3,000 mile pipeline.
Yeah.
And all of the valves, turn them on and off. That's how they had to deal with it. But paying your ransom is a bad thing to do. Having a backup is a good thing to do, but you got to remember, and I cover this in my backup course, that when we're talking about backup, something that's attached to your machine is also going to be encrypted as part of the ransom. So make sure your backups are remote and the bad guys can't get at them. But that's the easiest way to get past that first part of the ransom. The second part is what's going to be interesting here, Matt, because what they will do, this group, is they'll steal your data and then they will threaten to release the data. And when's that shoe going to drop? And then also, there are claims out there that the reason they shut the pipeline down, Matt, was because their billing systems were offline. That was the part of their network that was attacked by ransomware. And they wanted to be paid for the fuel. So they shut it down because they didn't want it to deliver fuel that they couldn't bill for.
It's quite a mess. Obviously, Craig Peterson joins us at this time every Wednesday to go over what's happening in the world of technology. The other big story, besides this colonial pipeline issue, which is really more of a last week thing, is what's going on in Israel with, obviously the rockets being launched back and forth, the potential of a ground invasion, the conflict at its worst point for the last probably 8 years or so. Social media has been a part of this story here, and one of the things that's interesting about that is that misinformation, lies, a bunch of garbage has been spewed around on social media, and there seems to be no stopping it, Craig Peterson.
Yeah, exactly. What we're finding now is really something that's been going on for a long time all over the world, and that is they are showing at official press conferences basically on both sides of this conflict, they're showing videos of other past conflicts and representing it as is happening right now. So this is a real big problem, frankly. This is a different world. Many of our news organizations are not investigating. They find a video, they use the video, even though it misrepresents it. And, of course, a lot of people are familiar with that at our U.S. border, where they were showing pictures of kids in cages when those pictures were taken during the Obama administration, and yet it is the Trump administration that they're complaining about. Same thing here. So we are able to do research online. Please do the research. And it's disgusting to see the state of Israel using videos that are not particularly relevant and misrepresenting them. And the same thing on the other side with Hamas.
Yeah, that's not the first time that's ever happened. We're talking with Craig Peterson, our tech guru, who joins us at this time every single week. Lastly, just want to ask a little bit about Tesla. A Tesla owner who drives from the back seat got arrested recently. What happened here?
Yeah, he said he apparently told a police officer that, and this is the California Highway Patrol, that he felt safer in the back seat. So he was sitting.
This is the self-driving car revolution about to happen to us, right? We're going to get a lot more stories like this happening soon.
It absolutely is. Traveling eastbound on the I-80 across the San Francisco-Oakland Bay Bridge, if you're familiar with the area.
Oh, my God. He drove on that bridge?
Yeah,
seriously?
Yes.
Yeah, no, I've spent an awful lot of time out there, and I've driven on that bridge more than once, and that's the last place I would be in the backseat not driving my car. I guess it's just I'm terrified of heights, but no, that's insane.
So people were reporting it to the police. The police pulled him over. He apparently climbed into the front seat in order to stop the car. He actually got arrested, put in jail. He was released, as is the norm in California. And so what does he do? He does it again, and he's caught again and arrested again. He says, I just feel safer back here than I do up there. This is what we're in for here. Remember, even though Tesla calls it full self-driving, it is not autonomous.
Right. It's meant to be an autopilot while you're sitting there behind the wheel, just in case, and directing things still, really. I mean, it's not a full self-driving car for real right now. Craig Peterson, thanks for joining us, as always. Good luck on Saturday on this very program. 1 o'clock. Make sure you tune in for that, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Hey, take care.
All right. We're going to take a quick break here when we come back.